Hello, everybody. My name is Jason Murch. I'm the director of script services at Stage 32 and the host of the Writers' Room every Wednesday at 4 o'clock. I'm here with Eric Jeske, who is a very, very good friend of Stage 32. And we got some big news. Eric was just signed by First Friday Entertainment after having been set up on a meeting as a result of winning the 5th annual feature screenwriting contest through Stage 32. How are you, Eric?
I'm doing great. I'm actually doing really great. I mean, obviously great news has come down for me. So, I mean, yeah, I'm riding high right now.
It's so exciting to be a part of this for you. And obviously, you know, you and I connected months ago, pre-pandemic, pre-COVID, pre-lockdown, pre-quarantine, all that stuff. And there was, you know, big plans to, you know, have you go out and meet people in person. Obviously, we had to pivot and start doing really sort of the pioneer program of virtual meetings to see what that was going to look like. But let's go back to you as a writer. You've obviously have an incredible amount of material that you've been working on. But take us through, you know, your background as a writer.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I mean, you know, geez, I mean, it goes really far back. I mean, we can go back as far as the first grade is from when I first started, like my first thing where a teacher was like, this is not bad, you know, that gave me the first gleam. But, you know, went to University of Wisconsin, Madison, was going through like the film school there as much as they had one back when I went through, which involved screenwriting. So that's kind of when I first kind of started screenwriting a little bit. Getting it under my belt, and trying it out. And then once I came out here, you know, I moved out to California, moved out to LA, and just, I came out to do comedy. I came out to, you know, do the whole LA thing. And, you know, I fell back into writing just because I mentioned that in the blog that it is something that's, you feel you have at least a little bit more control over, because it's you and the page, and then you can just get out what you want. And then obviously you have to involve more people from there. But, you know, you and your imagination, you and the characters. So I just started writing that way. You know, I was doing long form improv. So I was getting kind of like learning, you know, on stage, how to interact, how to listen, how to, you know, give and take, which I think is very important with your characters and your dialogue as well. Mm-hmm. You know, did that, you know, met up with like-minded people, you know, we, you know, collaborate with different people. I've had several different writing partners over my kind of screenwriting journey. And, you know, just kept writing, just kept learning, you know, going on the blogs, checking out sites like Stage 32, you know, getting involved in those communities and other screenwriters. Actually, you know, I've had, you know, different screenwriters reach out to me through Stage 32 who I've now developed a friendship with. You know, people that I kind of feel like mentoring me a little bit, me mentoring back to others to help others, and what I've learned and pass on at least whatever, you know, information I've picked up along the way. And then, you know, yeah, just kept writing and, you know, and just, I guess the way I got to Avalanche was I was kind of writing without restriction, writing without a budgetary restriction. So I've written huge space opera epics, Star Wars type things. You know, I've written period horror as well too. So a lot of things that were like expensive to produce. All done well on the circuits as well, but nothing that anyone really wanted to get into and, you know, really take a chance on, which led me to trying to write something a little bit smaller and contained. And that's kind of like how the genesis of Avalanche kind of started, the seed started growing.
Right.
Then, you know, I got to there and you know, here we are.
Yeah, so let's talk. Well, one of the things I think you mentioned.
I know I was rambling a little bit.
No, great. I mean,
it's a long story to, I guess, journey.
Well, absolutely, and they all are, man. That's the truth. I mean, there's not a single person who woke up one day and decided, I'm going to, you know, be a screenwriter, and then that afternoon they had a produced project. You know, I mean, it's
Yeah,
years
the
of
6-year overnight success they call it,
exactly.
I think, or something.
That's exactly right. It's years, years to become an overnight success. But one of the things you mentioned, I think that's so interesting, especially about Stage 32 and the community of writers, is that writing typically is such a lonely, insular, insulated endeavor. And to be able to connect with other writers and bounce ideas or mentor, like you said, give and take, that's the ultimate give and take right there. And I think that sort of community makes writers, all writers, much better.
Yeah. I mean, you definitely nailed it right there. It's anyone that's written anything knows how lonely a process it can be. Even if you're writing, in a group or with a collaborator, you're often writing your parts by yourself. Or if you don't have a collaborator, you're just out in the deep end, treading water. So having other people and other screenwriters to just talk the craft with, even if it's just, oh, how do you do dual dialogue, or how, or any advice, like, or what have you found with this contest? Which contest, would you enter? Which ones have you that you don't like, and, opinions vary, but that is part of the Stage 32 community. That is great. And like I said, people have reached out, and I've reached out to people. And I really do think that's one of the steps you can take, is that one step of reaching out. No one's going to really come to you and say, let me read your script. But if you go to somebody and say, hey, I saw you placed, or your script sounds like mine, you want to do a script trick, not even getting into that yet, but just, introducing yourself and, letting someone know that you did like their work, or it sparked something in you. I mean, everyone loves to hear that, obviously. And I mean, you can develop these great friendships. I mean, I got a couple people across the country that I correspond with, pretty regularly.
That's
So
awesome.
it's a great support group,
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I think, again, writers need that. I mean, I always joke that it was the original profession to invent social distancing, was the writer. And here we are now trying to pull in as many as we can together for this community. All right, let's shift gears and talk about Avalanche a little bit.
Sure.
First, give us very quickly the log line, because I think it's a fantastic idea. And like you said, very contained in terms of a thriller.
Yes, Avalanche is about a young pregnant woman who is staying at her family's cabin, and an avalanche hit and completely buries her inside the cabin, which, and then she has to figure out a way to get out, basically.
Right.
Not the best log line, not the best pitch.
That's all right. But, it's a very interesting idea, super contained, a really interesting piece for a star, for an actress, could really do a lot with that role, which I think is so important as well. But one of the things you mentioned is that you set out to write something that was contained and felt producible. And then from there, let's skip to, you entered it into the Stage 32 feature screenwriting contest.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about that experience. Was that the first time you'd entered a Stage 32 contest, or had you done that in the past?
I had a couple other scripts I've entered in. My big sci-fi epic, Save the Princess, was entered and I think made a top 10 placement. So, that got some, some inquiries and some, requests to read, which was great. Stage 32's been, one of the contests I will enter regularly if I have a script that I'm trying to get out there, or just, just to get notes. A lot of times the contest will also give you an option to add reader's notes on. So I always take that opportunity to get the feedback from all across the spectrum. I want to get as much feedback as I can. Obviously, you go through and sift through the notes that work for you or not. But Stage 32, yes, they the notes have always been great. I've always I've done fairly well. So and then obviously Avalanche has done great. So Stage 32 has been great. And
yeah, I remember. Well, I remember. Obviously, as we were that we have our contest judges and people are looking at stuff. Resoundingly, Avalanche kept coming to, for lack of a better term, the top of the pile. No pun intended. But like that was very, very cool to see that. You have a writer with a piece of work that everybody says, okay, this is something. This is very cool. And one of the things that was really exciting, again, when you and I first interacted, and one of the things I said in the blog as well, is that I said, I will do everything I can to make sure this project's pushed along, your careers move forward, because this is something that doesn't come along every day. And that's very exciting for everybody involved.
Yeah, no. That's great. And I mean, from the moment we first contacted, I think it was, are you eligible? Are you still eligible to accept the prize? And I was like, yes, if I happened to be chosen, I could. And I think the next like 10 minutes I had to wait, and you said, came back and it's like, well, we're offering it to you. So, and then after that was like, yeah, we just started working together, and you were always one of the things I'll say for Stage 32 and you, Jason, is just that, and I said it in the blog, it's you guys kept in contact. It was, whenever I had a question, or, even if I wanted to follow up, when COVID hit and everything stopped, that was right before I was about to have like these, a lot of these rep meetings, and they kind of just like started sliding off the schedule. And, a month or two went by and it was like, hey, we're getting back onto Zooms and stuff. And I hit you back, and it was like, yeah, right on it. And you get right on it, and you're back on. Let me follow up. Let me see who's available and who's doing Zooms. And we got back out there, and that was great.
Yeah. Well, yeah, on the representation side and the production development side as well, because, one of the biggest things that concerned, I think, a lot of people when this first hit was production stopped, development's going to stop, nobody's going to read anything, we don't know. And I think quite honestly, in the first week and a half, that is sort of what happened. I think everybody kind of really slammed on the brakes. And then everybody realized we should be developing, we should be reading more. And there was a ton of stuff that's been sold and optioned and writers being signed. And that's been really exciting to be a part of. But I remember with you specifically, I think we had like back-to-back meetings with it was Gersh and an APA it was a bunch of meetings. And I mean, literally in one day, and within a string of 15, 20 minutes of each other, all the emails started coming in. We've shut down the offices. And it's like, oh man.
They were all scheduled the next day.
Right. Yeah.
Well, two of them, like Gersh and Verb, and a couple of ones were like the next day.
It was like the next day. And they just, like you said, they just, completely shifted. And it was like, all right, well now what do we do to pivot and keep the momentum going? Because that's what you really want. And then again, like you said, being able to actually virtually connect with somebody, especially now, I think this is going to be really the way of the future in a lot of instances. But it was very cool then to, be able to send your material along to First Friday. I sent it over to Devin Byers over at First Friday. Let's talk about that for a second. So I sent that over to them. They obviously get back right away and want to have a phone call with you. Talk about that process, that first phone call with Devin and Krista.
Yeah. I mean, right off the bat, they're just, I don't know. It just clicked. We were just at ease with each other. We were able to joke around, talk about things we watched, really, started to get to know each other on a more personal level before we kind of got into business and whatnot. But, and then we started talking about Avalanche and how much they enjoyed it, and, where they thought it could go and what they thought they could do with it. And it was all good, and we all had a great call, and they wanted to see more material. So I sent them a couple other scripts so they could read. They read those, or they read one more script of mine, and then we set up another meeting, and they wanted to, based on those samples, they thought I was a writer that they didn't really have in their, stable, I guess. And I was a good fit for them. I'm looking for representation, and, they were a great fit for me as well. So I think this is going to be a really cool endeavor going forward. And yeah, I'm really excited to see what we can do together. You know, I have a team now, you know,
Yeah.
and that feels great. It feels
Yeah.
great to have somebody, you know, that you can bounce stuff off of now and, you know, get a temperature of, you know, Hollywood and the markets and everything, and see, you know, see if you're on the right track, or, you know, or what you should be working on.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that you said it. You said, team is such a big part of that, because I think a lot of writers, a lot of unrepresented writers feel as though, okay, if I get a manager, I'll be set. If I get an agent, I'll be set, because now they'll do all the heavy lifting in terms of the selling and the getting the stuff out there. And I'm sure you know this. That's not the reality. The reality is they're a part of your team, and you guys work in tandem.
Yeah. Yes, they definitely, you know, you'll definitely have a couple more doors that you'll be able to open that you weren't on, you know, on your own. But yeah, I mean, and team goes as far as, you know, I have a pretty good team before them as well, you know, just with friends and with, like, you know, community and fellow screenwriters who, you know, you have a draft and you want to get notes to somebody that you trust before you send it off to get the brutal coverage, you know, or the real honest stuff. So you have your team that you're working with that way as well. So that's great. So it's just you're growing your team and you're expanding the members, you know, and you're now a member of their team as well. So I look at it as I'm here to help them too, hopefully too, because I want their, you know, their management company to thrive, and I want to thrive with them.
Yeah, I think that you're exactly right. It's a very much a partnership on that level, and you guys will bounce ideas off each other. And this makes sense. This, maybe this doesn't make sense to write right now because of the market, or what have you.
Mm-hmm.
But again, to be able to have those core pieces of material that you're like, okay, this is why we're going to be a great fit together. We get each other, and you're able to take that forward. I think it's a really exciting thing.
Yeah, we were able to geek out a little bit over our, you know, mutual love of sci-fi and kind of comic books and those kind of things too. So coming from kind of a lot of the same likes and the same points of view kind of, you know, really helped too.
Right, absolutely. Last question, and this is one that I think people probably get a lot when they're in your position. But let's say I'm a new writer. I'm a younger writer in terms of my skill or ability, or I'm just starting out, what have you. What's your piece of advice coming from somebody who has done the grind, done the development, now is represented? What would you tell me?
I would tell you to utilize all these resources that are at your fingertips. I am one of those people that didn't really go out and use all stage 32s, the pitch sessions, you know, some of those things. And a lot of it is fear. A lot of it's self-doubt. But you can reach out to those individuals in the community. I mean, and kind of just go for it, you know, kind of just push yourself out of that comfort zone. And kind of what I wrote in the blog about, just, you know, keep pushing. You know, you if you want to do this, you're gonna have to do it. So that means you're gonna have to, yes, put in the work. You're gonna have to read scripts. You're gonna have to read screenwriting books. You're gonna have to read blogs. You're gonna have to get geeky about screenwriting. You have to make it your passion. And yeah, I just put in the work, and then, you know, trust the process. When I say trust the process, you know, a lot of writers know that process is you write that first draft and it's not great. But revisions, you keep layering, you add in dialogue, you add in subtext, you keep adding all these little things, these tools that you put in your tool belt along the way. And you trust the process. Each draft, you get notes back, it gets better, it gets better. I kind of compare that to your overall journey in your career as well, is to trust the process. You know, you're gonna make mistakes in the beginning, and you just need to trust the process and trust that you're gonna figure it out. You're gonna find people, and you're gonna lean on people. They're gonna lean on you, and it is a community. It doesn't have to be so lonely. That, you know, and yeah, just keep pushing it.
I think that's exactly right. You know, always just be doing the work. And the work means, like you said, you're writing, you're revising, you're taking the criticism, you're being entrepreneurial, you're thinking of ways to get your stuff out there. That's the writer's job. You're exactly right.
I hate saying it. I mean, it's the old cliche, writing is rewriting. And,
Yeah.
writing is hard. It's tough. And you got to put the blood, sweat, and tears into it
Yep.
to get something out of it, I think. So
Yeah.
if you're willing to do that, then, you can get something out of it, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, one of my favorite lines from any film comes from A League of Their Own, where Tom Hanks' character, Jimmy Dugan, says, "It's supposed to be hard. If it was easy, everybody would do it."
Right.
And that's exactly right.
Yep. You nailed it.
Eric, so good to see you, man.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for
Thank
this.
you, Jason.
Congratulations, sincerely, from all of us at Stage 32. It's this is what we do it for, and I'm so excited to be a part of your journey and continue with you as part of your journey.
Yeah, I appreciate all you guys do, and I look forward to growing and thriving together.
All right, man.